Ladies and gentlemen, we are right on the precipice of the launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 7, the 7th game in the Black Ops series. Really, there's actually kind of 8. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But before I have done timelines of the Call of Duty universe, of Black Ops, but never have I included every single Black Ops game into one, and Black Ops 7 actually needs it. It's kind of like right in the middle, more towards the end of this overall timeline. And you may be thinking, why do we need a timeline for this? Because wouldn't it just go Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 7 and there's a newest one? Well, no, this is the actual order. It goes Call of Duty World at War. Yes, that counts as a Black Ops game. Then Black Ops 1, then Black Ops Declassified. You might not have even known that existed. Then Black Ops Cold War, then the first half of Black Ops 2, then Black Ops 6, then the second half of Black Ops 2, and then Black Ops 7, then Black Ops 4, and then Black Ops 3. So yeah, that's pretty confusing to deal with, but we're gonna get to the bottom of this. And to do that, we first have to start in World War II. It is September 17th, 1942, and a Russian soldier by the name of Dmitry Petrenko wakes up in a blood-filled fountain. His soldiers scattered on the floor around him. He crawls his way to try to get some cover, and when he sees another soldier alive, missing his trigger finger, the soldier he sees goes by the name of Viktor Reznov. Viktor Reznov, a clear leader, tells Dmitry Petrenko that he must remain quiet, and they work their way to the edge of the fountain. And upon getting there, they wait for the cover of overhead planes before they pull the trigger, taking out German soldiers and sneaking their way through the nearby buildings. Now, as they work their way through Stalingrad, eventually they have a goal: to eliminate a general by the name of Henrik Amsel. And by the very end of the mission, the last trigger pull goes to Dmitry Petrenko, taking out Amsel, and for the rest of the foreseeable war, both Petrenko and Reznov end up working together, all the way into the year 1945. It is at this time where they are storming the Reich, one of the last pushes of World War II. The Russian forces push forward, pushing back Germany right into the Reich, and their goal is to go in and take it. And working their way all the way up to the roof, Dmitry and Reznov go in together, and eventually take it from them.
As long as you live, the heart of this army can never be broken.
Things will change, my friend. As heroes, we will return to Russia's embrace.
Now, you may be wondering why we're talking about Call of Duty World at War in a video about Call of Duty Black Ops. Well, it's because of the character Viktor Reznov. You see, just a few months after that, Dmitry Petrenko alongside Viktor Reznov go and are sent on this kind of secret Soviet mission. The leaders of Dragovich and Kravchenko send them in to capture a German scientist by the name of Frederick Steiner, who is working on something known as the Nova Project. Now, they want to see what this Nova gas can actually do, so Dragovich forces all of his soldiers into these gas chambers. Viktor Reznov is in one, and Dmitry Petrenko, his best friend and soldier, is in the next one. Now, when the gas goes off, Dmitry suffers an absolutely awful death. Now, it is around this time that British commandos storm the boat, exploding the doors off, and Viktor Reznov is able to escape. Now, when Viktor Reznov ends up getting off the boat, yes, sinks into the ocean, but the thing is as long as Steiner, the doctor, is still alive, they are going to be able to recreate Nova gas, giving the power to Dragovich, Kravchenko, and Steiner. It is shortly after this that Viktor Reznov is captured and brought to a Russian gulag because of what he knows. So up until this point, we've been going through World War II in the 40s, but next we have to jump to Black Ops 1 in the 1960s. Black Ops 1 begins in the year 1961, where Frank Woods, Alex Mason, the character you play as, and Joseph Bowman all go in to the Bay of Pigs invasion with one mission and one mission alone, and that is to kill Fidel Castro. And they do, or at least they think they do. It ends up being a body double, but after they kill the body double, they go to escape and make their way to an airstrip where they steal an airplane. However, there's one problem. The airstrip is covered in vehicles, so Alex Mason jumps off the plane, destroys everything on the airstrip, but he is left behind and quickly and swiftly captured, where he is brought to a Russian gulag, where you may recognize a familiar face.
Victor Reznov.
My friend.
You hit like a child!
Вы только через силу, понимаете? Собаки!
Hey, сволочь!
Всегда ты, Резнов! Ха! 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 Reznov.
This brings us to the year 1963. That's right, Alex Mason has been in Vorkuta for nearly 2 years. Now, through these 2 years, he is tortured and he is brainwashed by Steiner, Kravchenko, and Dragovich. All the while, the person he met in prison, Viktor Reznov, is trying to counteract this exact brainwashing. Now, after quite literally years of this, eventually Viktor Reznov and Alex Mason are able to plan and mount an escape together. However, after breaking out of the prison, killing a bunch of guards, and being chased down, the only one who is able to escape on the passing by train is Alex Mason. However, Viktor Reznov drives off into the distance. Now, it is never confirmed whether or not Reznov makes it out alive or not, but we'll come back to that one. Immediately after escaping, though, he makes his way back to the United States and gets given a CIA handler by the name of Jason Hudson, who brings him into the Pentagon, and he has a conversation with JFK. And he tells them that the world is in grave danger from Kravchenko, Steiner, and Dragovich, and he is the person closest to them, so he must eliminate them. But it's clear at this point that his brainwashing might have sunk in, because he has premonitions of him killing JFK. We'll come back to that, but first, Alex Mason is sent on a mission. Now, the mission is called Executive Order, and it takes place on November 17th, 1963. Frank Woods and Alex Mason are sent into a Russian cosmodrome where they happen to know that Lev Kravchenko is there, and they also have grabbed someone by the name of Grigory Weaver, someone who Kravchenko stabs right in the eye. Now, after this happens, we go in and we manage to extract Weaver, but we are too late for Kravchenko. He manages to escape and get out of there alive. Now, after this mission, it is just 5 days later that JFK is assassinated. It's said that no one knows who did it. However, at the end of the Black Ops 1 campaign, we get this scene. Now, it's never confirmed whether or not Alex Mason did do it, but what is confirmed is that for 5 years after that, we don't know what happened to him or Frank Woods. However, 5 years later, they're brought into Vietnam. So at this point, a bunch of people from the CIA are brought into Vietnam to hunt down Kravchenko, Steiner, and Dragovich because they are believed to be in the area and moving Nova 6 gas. These people include Jason Hudson, the handler, Frank Woods, Alex Mason, and Joseph Bowman. And they are tracking them down when eventually they get captured, everyone except Jason Hudson. And let's just say things don't go fully according to plan like they want them to.
This piece of shit. Bowman! Bowman! You fucking son of a bitch! Next! I'm gonna kill you all! Don't you touch me! What? Shit. Motherfuckers. I'm gonna make them pay.
You! No talk. Play!
What's the plan? I'm thinking.
No talk!
One chance, Mason. We'll take it. Okay.
Bang! You can't kill me! You shoot, GI, you shoot! Fuck!
This time, do it.
Aim line!
Ready.
Play. enemy!
6 and 8 o'clock.
Now, eventually, after escaping, both Woods and Mason steal a helicopter and make their way to Kravchenko's compound. Upon getting there, end up getting into an altercation. And when Kravchenko seems to have the upper hand on Mason, Frank Woods comes in, jumping out the window with him. Now, it is later told to us from Frank Woods what ends up happening after.
I sliced that bastard open, saved everyone's ass. But he comes to first. Boom. Welcome to the Hanoi Hilton. 6 months later, they shipped me over to Da Nang. And this fucking place made the Hilton look good. Lost 17 of my group. By 72, it was just me. I was not gonna die in a fucking swamp.
So now that Frank Woods is AWOL, one person is left to help Mason, and that is, once again, Viktor Reznov. You see, throughout the Black Ops 1 campaign, at very influential moments, Viktor Reznov would kind of appear out of nowhere, helping Mason out of the most dire situations. And right now, he was going to a place known as Rebirth Island, the place where Frederick Steiner was creating Nova 6 gas. And he goes in alone alongside Viktor Reznov, and eventually makes his way all the way to the very end, where him and Reznov would confront Steiner.
Your evil has claimed the lives of many good men. No longer.
Killing me will not stop Nova.
I do not care about Nova. My name is Viktor Reznov. And I will have my revenge!
However, that is absolutely not what happened. What actually happened is Alex Mason was hallucinating, thinking that he was Viktor Reznov, and he is the one that pulled the trigger, killing Frederick Steiner. Now, he is brought in and captured by Jason Hudson and Gregory Weaver and brought back to a CIA facility. This is where they find out that there is a numbers sequence inside of Alex Mason's head, which will lead them to a broadcast station which will control a bunch of sleeper agents placed around the United States. One of these sleeper agents being Alex Mason. However, because Viktor Reznov got to him in Vorkuta, some of that brainwashing has been switched up, and they might be able to get the numbers broadcast out of him. The other important thing to mention is that it's right around this time that the CIA makes a division known as the Advanced Technologies and Applications Division, originally established to understand the Russian number sequence. We'll come back to that one in a minute. Now, after cracking the number sequence, they end up finding out that the broadcast station is indeed in the Rusalka, which is in the Gulf of Mexico, which then our agents, including Alex Mason, go to and end up running into Nikita Dragovich, one of the people who brainwashed Alex Mason. Now, after Dragovich insinuates that Mason did indeed kill JFK, Mason, let's just say, handles the job and ends up escaping the Rusalka, and everyone lives happily ever after. At least for now. Now, this ends in the year 1968, and again the story picks up 5 more years later in a different place, this time in Nicaragua. There's a family known as the Menendezes. They run a drug smuggling cartel in Nicaragua, and it's at this time that an American business owner lights his business on fire for insurance money, trapping the daughter of Jose Luis Menendez and sister of Raul Menendez in there. Causing extreme disfigurement to Josefina, this causes an extreme hatred towards America. Now, while the Menendez drug cartel grew, the Black Ops agents Frank Woods, Alex Mason, Jason Hudson were sent on more and more missions around the world, eventually tracking down this cartel, which we will get to. However, throughout all of this, there was one point where the CIA even wanted to take out these CIA assets because they didn't know whether or not they were following orders or whether or not Alex Mason and even Frank Woods were compromised. This was called Operation Cherub, but was later withdrawn. And the reason for that is because these Black Ops agents were needed once again in the year 1981 for a completely different reason.
Every time Perseus has come into play, it's shifted the balance of the Cold War. After 13 years of silence, if he's active, something big is gonna happen. Something that will affect the free world. President.
Mr. President, this is Jason Hudson and Russell Adler.
I know their names. Who do you think approved their last mission? Is the threat real?
Yes, sir, we believe it is.
Can you stop Perseus?
We can, sir. I've already submitted the requisition for my team.
We have to go back in time a little bit to the year 1968. Back in Vietnam in a different area, we are now following Russell Adler, who on a mission ends up running into or having at least a close encounter with someone by the name of Perseus, someone who we would later find out is a Russian agent who apparently infiltrated the CIA and is planning on bringing down the United States of America and maybe even the world. So ever since then, in 1968, Russell Adler has essentially become the specialist on Perseus, the #1 go-to guy, and with him re-emerging during the Cold War, they are trying to track him down before he does anything drastic. And in a mission early on, they are involved with some people, specifically someone by the name of Arash Kadivar, who is working directly with Perseus. Now, it is this time when we see one of these Russian agents get shot, and Adler takes this as an opportunity to bring this person in, reinvent them by the name of Bell, and tell them that they've been a part of the CIA for a very long time, when in reality, they used to work for Perseus. What Russell Adler's goal is to brainwash them in order to get more information or even the location of Perseus. Now, what Perseus's plan is to use something by the name of Operation Greenlight, which is basically a bunch of nukes that are housed around Europe owned by the United States. By launching them and causing massive nuclear destruction, it would look like America did it, therefore making them the bad guys. So in other words, our Black Ops agents need to stop that. Now, by the end of Black Ops Cold War, Russell Adler eventually convinces Bell to tell him the location of where Perseus is and how we can stop him, and eventually that's exactly what we do. And even after all of this, with Bell siding with our Black Ops agents, still Russell Adler decides he needs to clean up loose ends.
Arctic air. Clears the head, doesn't it? Bell, you made 2 extraordinary sacrifices to stop Perseus. One was without your knowledge. The other, you made that decision of your own accord. I just want you to know that this little thing that's happened with you and me, it was always for the greater good. You're a goddamn hero, you know that, kid? Heroes have to make sacrifices. That's why when I ask you for one more, I hope you understand. It was never personal.
So after Perseus is dealt with, and I guess so is Bell, it is weeks later that Russell Adler then goes and joined what we talked about before, being the Advanced Technology and Application Division within the CIA, therefore going and working on a new project called Cradle. Now this is going to become important, but first, one other thing happens. 1 year after the end of the events of Black Ops Cold War, they end up getting the location of Jose Luis Menendez, Raul Menendez's father, and both Frank Woods and Alex Mason are sent in to deal with the job. But there's one thing that they are told as they do it, to leave Raul Menendez alive. So they take out his father and Raul Menendez escapes, therefore taking control of the Menendez cartel. So then we have to move forward to the year 1984. So just when the CIA thought Perseus was gone, he once again rises up, this time with someone by the name of Stitch. To understand him, you first have to go back to Rebirth Island, where he was captured when Alex Mason first went there. Now, he was captured and tortured and interrogated by Russell Adler, and he is coming back to get revenge. This time, he captures Adler, brings him in, and brainwashes, this time, Russell Adler. However, he's got a much bigger goal. He ends up getting his hands on the Dragovich files and uses the same number sequencing program to try to brainwash a new area known as Verdansk. However, our characters are able to steal back, alongside Frank Woods and Alex Mason, steal back Russell Adler, deprogram his brainwashing, and by the very end, put an end to Stitch, and also get a little bit of backstory on who or what Perseus truly was.
Adler, you took your time.
It's over. Your sick experiment is done.
12, 19, 14.
Don't waste your breath. I'm clean.
I figured. It was worth a try. My work was finished before your little act of rebellion. This changes nothing.
Tell me where Perseus is.
You never understood. Perseus was never one man. It's an ideal. Bigger than any of us.
Oh, spare me your horse shit. Where the fuck is Perseus?
Right here. Cancer took him in '83.
No.
A great man with great vision. He was not the first Perseus, just as I will not be the last. Do what you will. Finish what you started on Rebirth Island. My broadcast was complete. I have changed the world, Adler. In ways you can't even imagine.
Now we then move 2 years forward after 1984, bringing us to 1986 and the beginning of Black Ops 2. As we find out in 1986, Frank Woods has been captured by none other than Raul Menendez, and the person sent in or come to rescue him is none other than Alex Mason. But at this point, he has retired and he's at his home in Alaska with his son, David Mason, who he made a promise to retire from the CIA and never go back. However, to save Uncle Frank, he makes an exception. Going back and finding him on the Cubango River, they end up tracking down and saving Frank Woods. But it doesn't end there, because now they need to get to the bottom of Raul Menendez. Now in the next 3 years, they go and they try to hunt down Raul Menendez, and as they do, they eventually track him down to Nicaragua. They get into his facility, and when they do, they are trying to arrest him. When Frank Woods sees him, he is enraged from what he did to him in Angola, so he immediately throws a grenade, which doesn't go towards him, but rather his sister Josefina's bedroom, killing her. Now what's weird is after this, when Jason Hudson gives us the debriefing on what happened here, he tells us that Raul Menendez was killed as well and is in that body bag. So they're under the assumption that indeed Raul Menendez is dead. However, that's not the case. For 3 years, going into the year 1989, Raul Menendez is putting together a plan to get revenge and to cause suffering. Our characters are now in the Panama City invasion, tracking down one Manuel Noriega. When over the radio, Jason Hudson comes on and says they're doing a prisoner exchange, Manuel Noriega for a bigger, high-value target. They assume that this is now Raul Menendez, the same character that we thought was dead. So, with Frank Woods holding this character in his sniper scope, he pulls the trigger. And just like Jason Hudson said, he is told to shoot him in the head. And he does. And when he gets down there to see who he killed, it is not who he expected.
What are you looking so smug about? The fuck is going on? What's going on here? No. Mason!
Fool.
You bastard!
Now, as we find out, the way that this actually happened is Raul Menendez was able to infiltrate the CIA, getting a hold of David Mason, using him as leverage against Jason Hudson, and trapping Alex Mason, getting Frank Woods to kill him. But this was just the beginning of his plan, because he didn't want to just cause pain, he wanted to cause suffering.
Your life will be consumed by absolute loss. Then and only then will you understand what you have done to me. not kill you, boy. Not like Woods. You will suffer with me. And then one day, you will see this pendant again. And you will remember everything you saw and felt tonight. You will remember all the years of anger and pain. And when you do, David, please, come to me.
So it is directly after this that Russell Adler actually ends up getting framed for being the mole within the CIA that allowed Raul Menendez to get in.
After Frank got out of Walter Reed, the news was that I put him in that chair. I was the one who compromised his Panama mission in '89, got Hudson and Mason killed, Woods injured. All bullshit. When I skipped town, I went silent on him, on everyone. Better he hate me than get caught in the net, but I guess it didn't matter in the end. So yeah, he did take a leap. He's loyal. Last March, someone produced documents showing encrypted transfers. From the drug lord Raul Menendez to my personal bank account. I got wind of it before Langley called me in from Morocco. Decided not to get on that plane.
Now, because of this, there was an immediate inquest into the group of soldiers, including Jason Hudson, Frank Woods, Alex Mason, and the person in charge of this goes by the name of Ryan Jackson. And in fact, there is an entire video game based off of this, but not for any console. It is Black Ops Declassified, and in this game, you go through old missions that all of these characters went on, all to figure out whether or not Frank Woods, Alex Mason, and Jason Hudson are good guys or not. And that inquest was done in the year 1990. But this brings us to 1991.
No!
Adler!
Stand down!
Wait till Woods gets a load of this. Goddamn Russell Adler, CIA traitor. You been on the run, what, 10 months?
Marshall, Woods' new project. You can ease up, son. I'm all done here. Jane?
You just killed a high-value target in cold blood and put our national security at risk.
Hello, can't fall into the Pantheon's hands. Or Langley's. The CIA is compromised.
That scene pretty much right there explains most of the storyline of Black Ops 6, except for a couple of things. We play as a character by the name of Case, a character who actually Russell Adler experimented on in the Advanced Technologies and Applications division of the CIA. They experimented with a compound known as Cradle. This compound would be used to try to create super soldiers, when in reality it just caused an immense amount of rage and soldiers to completely and utterly lose control. This will come back again later in a very different way, but this is essentially what it did. Now, after this, people who were extremists in the Advanced Technology and Applications division split off and formed the Pantheon, and they wanted to then use the Cradle as a biochemical weapon. Now, at this point, everyone in this crew is going against the CIA, which makes them rogue Black Ops agents, which forces them to have to try to find people who are not quite on the up and up, one of which goes by the name of Savati Dumas, an assassin in an imaginary place called Avalon. Now, Avalon is going to play a big part later. I just kind of needed to say where she came from for what happens in a minute. Lo and behold, the person that was actually the mole within the CIA was Jane Harrow, and when we get her and interrogate her, we find out a little bit about her past, about how her parents were both within the CIA, and at some point, someone came in and killed her parents. She believed it to be someone within the CIA, so she joined the CIA to get answers, but never did. Rumors were that it could have been Russell Adler or Jason Hudson, but no one to this day knows, and unfortunately, we never got an answer. What we do know is she turned evil, joined the Pantheon, and wanted to release the Cradle within Washington, D.C. However, Case came along and absolutely stopped her.
Finish this. We have to get out of this.
Now, at the end of the Black Ops 6 story, we find out that there are still Pantheon agents within the CIA, even though we have eliminated the big bad, which is Jane Harrow. So in the seasonal story for Black Ops 6, we need to go and we need to hunt down these people. And it happens in a very, very strange way. First off, it starts out by Savati Dumas having to go back into Avalon and track down some of the crime families who now Pantheon is working with. Now, as they get more information, eventually they receive a tape from the dead Jason Hudson, who found out information on Pantheon just before the Panama invasion. And he gives us that information, which leads us to a Russian lead. Now, the only person who is able to decrypt this Russian lead is Stitch. That is right, it turns out Russell Adler didn't kill him, and now our characters need to break into a CIA prison to steal out Stitch and get to the bottom of who these CIA agents are. So they then team up with Russell Adler's old colleague Lawrence Sims, who was in Black Ops Cold War, and they use the military to flush out the rest of these moles within the CIA. By the very end, they are all reinstated. However, Savati Dumas stays in Avalon in order to rebuild, and she somehow becomes a higher up within the guild, which then becomes a shipping company similar to Amazon that goes around the world, which then focuses on advanced technology and turns out is going to be the big bad guy within Black Ops 7. But we're jumping ahead a little bit. We'll get to that. Now, one interesting thing about the Black Ops universe is kind of like the biggest time period gap that we have goes between 1992 and all the way to 2014. Now, in 2014, a new movement called the Cortes Dia movement is founded by Raul Menendez. Now, they try to hide it that it's some mystery man behind it, but we know it is Raul Menendez. And between 2014 and 2025, this movement builds and builds and builds. And just like Raul Menendez warned David Mason, once he sees that pendant, he needs to find Menendez. Well, lo and behold, in the year 2025, Raul Menendez shows up at the Vault, a retirement home that houses Frank Woods, and gives him the pendant. Now, this is one of the few Call of Duty games with multiple endings where some of them are actually possible. So we'll go through what actually happens, but first, the premise of the game. There's an element, a rare earth element known as Celerium, which can be used to create basically advanced computers. And Raul Menendez wants this for some reason, but for the majority of the game, we don't know why. However, what we do know is we have a person within Menendez's cartel who is very close to Menendez, known as Farid. However, later on, he actually gets discovered by Menendez, and there is a choice that needs to be made. Either Farid dies or Harper dies. And this is what the canon choice actually is.
Come on! You won't get the stones to fucking shoot me! Come on, Egghead! Do it!
You betrayed us, Farid. And for what?
To those you serve, your life means nothing!
So we know that Harper survives because, well, he's in Black Ops 7, which we will get to in a minute. However, after this, we end up going ahead and capturing Raul Menendez, which is very strange because he essentially gives himself up, and we take him onto a ship known as the USS Obama. So what actually ends up happening is one of the people working alongside you, David Mason, is Salazar, and he was actually working for Menendez. So he helps Menendez escape, and then they gain control of the USS Obama, putting in a Celerium worm, allowing them to hack into the entire world's drone system, controlling all of the drones and allowing Menendez to have control, which he then sends an attack on Los Angeles. So our characters, alongside Samuels, who will be a character within Black Ops 7, have to defend the president who is in Los Angeles. Now, after doing so, your crew then goes after Raul Menendez, and at the very end, you capture him, and this is what the canon ending is.
I got you, brother.
So after killing Raul Menendez, this makes him a martyr, and that Cortes Dia movement we talked that started in 2014 moves forward, growing and becoming bigger, and essentially plunges the world into darkness.
This video is triggered to play upon my assassination. Cortes Dia, you know how to proceed. My death will shine light upon ubiquitous darkness.
The other thing that happens because of Alex Mason, David Mason's father's death, is that he actually ends up retiring from the Marines.
I get it now. He loved you, kid. I know. This is the price we pay for what we do. I'm done, Sarge. Good. He's happy to hear that. You talking to the dead now, Sarge? Nah. They talk to me.
So in 2025, it seems as though David Mason is retired, Harper is injured but still alive, and Raul Menendez is dead. Well, when we take a closer look at 10 years later, things start to look a little bit different with Black Ops 7. Of course, I can't tell you what the entire story of Black Ops 7 is going to be, simply because the game's not out yet, but I can give you a pretty good idea of what the game is going to look like. First things first, it predominantly takes place in Avalon. It seems as though David Mason is coming out of retirement because Raul Menendez has once again surfaced. Now, Harper, alongside the rest of the JSOC team, end up showing up in Avalon, and Avalon, specifically the guild in Avalon, has a little bit of a surprise for them, and that is this strange red gas that seemingly causes hallucinations and shows you your biggest fears. It appears as though the guild is using fear to sell their products, selling their robotic safety. Now, where it goes from there, I don't fully know, but what I do know is it's not the end of the Black Ops storyline, because it once again picks up 10 years after Black Ops 7 in the year 2045. Now, this is Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 did not have a campaign, but it has a pretty interesting story. The most interesting part about it is that the two main characters, Savannah Mason Meyer and Jessica Mason Green, are the daughters of David Mason, both of them. Now, Savannah Mason is the world's first trillionaire. Now, the story that goes along with it is that Savannah Mason created a company based off of robotics and human augmentations, creating a specialist program, a program of super soldiers who could go in and dominate the battlefield. But that wasn't enough for her, as she decided to have another project, one by the name of the Blackout Project. Now, in this project, she would take the DNA of already existing people or previously dead people, like Frank Woods, for example, and create clones of them. Then these, being called archetypes, would be able to go into the battlefield, and you'd basically have swarms of top-tier soldiers. But here's the thing, her sister, Jessica Mason, was completely against this project and tried to fight against it, and because of this, she tried to have her sister killed. Well, Jessica Mason figures out what's going on here and gets the rest of the specialists to team up back against her sister. Now, the weird part is some of this already exists within Black Ops 7. We see 50-50, one of the main characters in the game, have augments, things along those lines. However, we don't know as of yet, aside from Black Ops 4, we've never seen David Mason's daughters aside from that. And then the story picks up once again 20 years after that in the year 2065. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again, this is the most confusing Call of Duty campaign of all time by a long shot. I'm going to give you a short summary of what the game is, and then I will explain to you how it fits in overall. So this is a world transformed by advanced cybernetics, augmentations, and climate disasters similar to what we have already seen. However, now it's almost fully robotic warfare, joined up with something called a DNI, or direct neural interface, which links your brain with machines. So you can control a machine directly from your brain. Now, as the story unfolds, the team investigates a rogue group of soldiers led by someone by the name of John Taylor, whose squad went off the grid after a mysterious CIA mission in Singapore. Now, eventually, you find out that there is this massive digital virus affecting people's DNIs, blurring the line between reality and simulation. And by the very end of the game, this Corvus virus, you don't actually know whether your character is Taylor or not. I have a video up on this game. It is incredibly confusing, but the one thing that you need to know is that this story doesn't exist without Raul Menendez, and here is the tie-in.
Essential supplies are low.
How are you still holding on?
You can thank Raul Menendez.
What? Raul Menendez was a hypocritical egomaniac who thought he could make a better world by fucking everything up.
After the strikes of 25, all Winslow Accord nations had to abide by the Allied Drone Defense Act. Directed energy air defense systems must protect all major military, civilian, and industrial targets in Allied nations. The dead are the only reason we are still here.
Maybe so, but I wouldn't thank Menendez. He was a prick who got what he deserved.
So what Raul Menendez did is create unlikely alliances like one between China and the United States, leading to this very strange war that we see in the distant future. However, here is the interesting thing, is after over 120 years, the Black Ops story has coalesced. There's a few holes here and there, and really with Black Ops 7 just around the corner, the holes that it is going to fill is the links between the stories of predominantly Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 6, looking at what happens next with David Mason before his daughters, Savannah and Jessica, take over in the future. This has been the full timeline of the Black Ops universe. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. These videos take forever. I would really appreciate it. And if you like video game story, be sure to subscribe, turn notifications on. We got the launch of the game right around the corner, and of course, we'll be covering that. Until next time, peace.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making